Welcome to your community. This is your hometown. This is Walton Entertainment. This is where you can hear from the community and those making a difference. We explore topics, local festivals, arts and entertainment, and local news. For this program and much more, visit us online at yourlocalstream.com. That's yourlocalstream.com.
You can't see this, it's not lit tonight, but it's 8 maids a-milking. I don't think you can see this because it's pretty dark. You can see this because it's pretty dark.
You're watching Walton Entertainment.
Monroe Country Day School's mission is to inspire every student to have a passion for academic and personal excellence through creative learning, independent thinking, and selfless service to others. Students are exposed to the local community and provided opportunities for independent thinking.
What will you do with all the dirt?
Some of the dirt you see has been hauled over here because they're going to have to build the finished floor, the elevation of the building, so that it's got to have the right kind of soil that will compact and tighten up for the footings of the building.
Monroe Country Day School values the whole child. Therefore, we believe in a holistic and integrated approach that involves the development of the student academically, personally, and socially. Monroe Country Day School believes that creative learning produces independent thinking and fosters a love of learning. Excellence is applied to all that we do. We strive to foster students that are pursuing strong academic and personal excellence. Project-based education is integrated into our curriculum.
When we go back in the classroom, we need the combined weight of you guys because we've got to figure our bridge, our mass bridge weight ratio, okay? You got to figure out how much weight it was that finally broke your bridge, okay?
We need a scale for that.
And then on Monday, we're going to redesign. We figured out where some of our flaws are. We're going to spend another week redesigning, all right?
Monroe Country Day School offers personalized education that begins with the personal knowledge of each student academically and each student's personal story. We believe that taking personal responsibilities for one's academic and personal choices produces strong, independent, capable, and confident citizens. Students are taught responsibility for self, peers, and community. Through service to one's peers and community, an equipped leader finds personal growth and fulfillment. We facilitate this leadership through providing experiences of service. Respect is the basis for good dialogue, independent thinking, and mutual enjoyment of life lived in community. Monroe Country Day School is designed for families who see the value of educating the whole child. Monroe Country Day School will reach its mission by maintaining small class sizes, offering project-based learning and a high-level curriculum, and by providing service opportunities in an aesthetically pleasing environment. Monroe Country Day School has positioned itself to produce a community of young people who are strong in mind and character and living as contributing members in their community. For more information, please contact Mandy Wellington, Admissions Director, at 770-267-8955. The Polar Express. On Christmas Eve, many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets. I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for a sound a friend had told me I'd never hear, the ringing bells of Santa's sleigh. There is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but I knew he was wrong. Late that night, I did hear sounds. Though not of ringing bells, from outside came the sounds of hissing steam and squeaking metal. I looked through my window and saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the cars. He took a large pocket watch from his vest, then looked up at my window. I put on my slippers and robe. I tiptoed downstairs and out the door. "All aboard!" the conductor cried out. I ran up to him. "Well," he said, "are you coming?" "Where?" "Why, to the North Pole, of course," was his answer. "This is the Polar Express." I took his outstretched hand and he pulled me aboard. The train was filled with other children, all in their pajamas and nightgowns. We sang Christmas carols and ate candies with nugget centers as white as snow. We drank hot cocoa as thick and rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, the lights of towns and villages flickered in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. Soon there were no more lights to be seen. We traveled through cold, dark forest where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from our train as it thundered through the quiet wilderness. We climbed mountains so high it seemed as if we would scrape the moon, but the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along, rolling over peaks and through valleys like a car on a roller coaster. The mountains turned into hills, the hills to snow-covered plains. We crossed a barren strait of ice, the great polar ice cap. Lights appeared in the distance. They looked like the lights of a strange ocean liner sailing on a frozen sea. "There," said the conductor, "is the North Pole." The North Pole, it was a huge city standing alone on the top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first we saw no elves. "They are gathering at the center of the city," the conductor told us. "That is where Santa will give the first gift of Christmas." "Who receives the first gift?" we all asked. The conductor answered, "He will choose one of you." "Look," shouted one of the children, "the elves!" Outside we saw hundreds of elves. As our train drew closer to the center of the North Pole, we slowed to a crawl. So crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no further, we stopped and the conductor led us outside. We pressed through the crowd to the edge of a large open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pranced and paced, ringing the silver sleigh bells that hung from their harnesses. It was a magical sound like nothing I'd ever heard. Across the circle, the elves moved apart and Santa Claus appeared. The elves cheered wildly. He marched over to us and pointing to me, he said, "Let this fella here." He jumped into his sleigh. The conductor handed me up. I sat on Santa's knee and he asked, "Now what would you like for Christmas?" I knew that I could have any gift I could imagine, but the thing I wanted most for Christmas was not inside Santa's giant bag. What I wanted more than anything was one silver bell from Santa's sleigh. When I asked, Santa smiled. He gave me a hug and told an elf to cut a bell from a reindeer's harness. The elf tossed it up to Santa. He stood, holding the bell high above him, and called out, "The first gift of Christmas." A clock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. Santa handed the bell to me, and I put it in my bathrobe pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh. Santa shouted out the reindeers' names and cracked his whip. His team charged forward and climbed into the air. Santa circled once above us, then disappeared in the cold, dark polar sky. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see the bell. I reached into my pocket, but the only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the silver bell from Santa Claus' sleigh. "Let's hurry outside and look for it," one of the children said, but the train gave a sudden lurch and started moving. We were on our way home. It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train reached my house, I sadly left the other children. I stood at the doorway and waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but I couldn't hear him. "What?" I yelled out. He cupped his hands around his mouth. "Merry Christmas," he shouted. The Polar Express let out a loud blast from its whistle and sped away. On Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah and I opened our presents. When it looked as if everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one last small box behind the tree. It had my name on it. Inside was the silver bell. There was a note. "Found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket. Signed, Mr. C." I shook the bell. It made the most beautiful sound my sister and I had ever heard. But my mother said, "Oh, that's too bad." "Yes," said my father, "it's broken." When I had shaken the bell, my parents had not heard a sound. At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear its sweet sound. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me as it does for all who truly believe.
This is a cemetery that is really connected with the Baptist Church here. It's one of the oldest cemeteries in Monroe. There's only about 100 marked graves in here, but there's some really, I guess, significant people here that had a lot to do with the development of Monroe. People I think that have found out about this are people that are really history lovers, and they come out and want to see. When I found this and did some research on it, I started getting really interested in it because we've got a governor buried out here, and we've got a big family out here that had a lot to do with the growth of the cemetery. The founder of Monroe, Elijah Bett's mother is buried here, and that is really kind of how the cemetery got started. This was his property, and when she died, he wanted to bury her here, and he finally deeded the property over to the city with the understanding it would always be a cemetery and it would never belong to an individual. So I think that's the oldest grave here. And it's kind of two cemeteries in one. You've got the old Baptist cemetery, and then the Walker family, who's buried back in the back, and there's actually a wall around their plot, and it's really kind of a small cemetery, but we've got a governor of Georgia buried back there. There's two governors that are buried here in Monroe, and one of them is here in this cemetery. We're at the Rooks family plot right now. One of the ones, I guess the story that I want to talk about is the daughter. Her name is Martha Ann Rooks Schaefer. And Miss Schaefer was the postmaster here in Monroe from about 1867 to about 1897. She spent 30 years doing a job that was mostly done by men, but she had been hired to do that job. She did a great job from what I've read. When she had been here at the job for 18 years, she had never missed a day of work, and there was a newspaper story about that. That was kind of a big deal, and it's picked up by the news. It was done by the newspaper here in town, and then it was picked up by newspapers around the country. Now, there was a man by the name of George Schaefer that lived in Pennsylvania, and he was a retired and widowed preacher. Well, he read that, and he was just really impressed with it, the fact that she had done 18 years, never missed a day of work. And he said to his friends, he said, you know, I'd like to marry that woman. And he sent her a letter, a congratulatory letter for those 18 years, and she sent a letter back to him. And it started being a little pen pal kind of thing. And before you know it, he sends her a letter proposing marriage. She sends a letter back accepting. Now, I don't know if they'd ever actually met each other in person, but this it must have been some pretty good letter writing, all I can say. But it was kind of an exciting time here in Monroe that she at 50 years old was going to marry a man 20 years older than her that was a Yankee. But they came on down and they married here at the First Methodist Church, and their marriage lasted until I think it was about 13 years, I think, until she died in 1900 and left him a widow. He had been a widow once before, left him a widow for a second time. And I was wondering when I first started looking at this, why isn't he buried here? And if you've ever been on findagrave.com, if you haven't been on it, you ought to get on it sometime. It's really interesting. You do a lot of research on people who have died and that kind of thing. Well, I found out that he had moved to South Carolina and married somebody else. And I guess the third time he didn't luck out so much on that one. He didn't outlive her. She outlived him. But he is buried in, I think, Spartanburg, South Carolina, with a third wife.
Creative artists can offer you a wide range of video production. Call the experts and discuss your project today, whether it's your special event or your company. Creative Artist, 770-267-7368. Creative Artist produces this program you're watching. Call Creative Artist today, 770-267-7368. Creative Artist, they'll put you in the spotlight.
Social distancing! I don't have to wear a mask here either!
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings to you. Good tidings to you. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. Now bring us a pretty goodness, now bring us a pretty goodness, now bring us a pretty goodness, and bring some out here. Good tidings to you, wherever you are. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. For
Today I'm going to read portions of my book, The 12 Days of Christmas in Georgia, as a little celebration of the holiday season in Georgia. The 12 Days of Christmas in Georgia by Susan Ross in Spain, who is me, and Elizabeth Dulemba is my illustrator. The first day they go to the beginning of the Appalachian Trail, and they find the state bird, which is a brown thrasher, and a live oak tree, which is our state tree. And so on the first day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me a thrasher in a live oak tree. So we talk about here, Jacob writes a letter home to his parents and tells them all about what the Appalachian Trail looks like and history of it and so forth. And they meet George the thrasher, George because of Georgia, of course. George will be throughout the whole book. He travels with them. So the first day of Christmas, we have the thrasher in the live oak tree. The second day of Christmas, they go to Dahlonega, where it was the beginning of the gold rush, even before the California one. And there is still gold in Dahlonega. So they visit the gold museum and they find out how much they would be worth if they were made of gold, close to $1 million. Yes. And then they actually pan for gold. And you can do this if you go to Dahlonega. So on the second day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 2 pans of gold and a thrasher in a live oak tree. On the third day of Christmas, they go to Stone Mountain. And they learn all about the carving, how it was done, how long it took, how high it is, and the fact that you can park a school bus on the back side of the horse here. So on the third day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 3 horsemen, 2 pans of gold, and a thrasher in a live oak tree. And this is Jefferson Davis, Robert E. Lee, and Stonewall Jackson that are carved on the mountain. On the fourth day of Christmas, they go to Martin Luther King Jr.'s boyhood home and learn about how he led the civil rights movement, and they see an exhibit called Children of Courage, where they find out that no matter whether you're a child or an adult, you can still make a difference in the world. So we have 4 doves. Doves stand for peace. So on the 4th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 4 cooing doves, 3 horsemen, 2 pans of gold, and a thrasher in a live oak tree. On the 5th day of Christmas, they go to Atlanta. And there they are at the Centennial Olympic Park. They go skating there because there's a beautiful rink all lit up and everything every year. And they learn about the Olympics and how money was raised for the Olympics through the bricks. And you can walk on the bricks and find whoever, if you know anybody that did donations and so forth. And on the 5th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 5 Olympic rings. And you can see they're skating the rings. And George wipes out here he's not a very good skater. So 5 Olympic rings, 4 cooing doves, 3 horsemen, 2 pans of gold, and a thrasher in a live oak tree. On the 6th day of Christmas, they go to the Center for Puppetry Arts, also in Atlanta. There's a lot to do in Atlanta. And they see all kinds of cool puppets and Muppets. So some of Jim Henson's Muppets are there. There's a whole wing for Jim Henson's Muppets, including the Swedish Chef. He's there, the original. And then they go to the puppet workshop and make one of their own. So on the 6th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 6 puppets playing, and the 5 Olympic rings and 4 cooing doves and 3 horsemen and 2 pans of gold and the thrasher in the live oak tree. I'm going to stop reading the whole rest of them. Okay, on the 7th day of Christmas, they go to Tybee Island. Off the coast of Georgia, in the ocean off the coast of Georgia and in northern Florida too, that's where the right whale bears its calves every winter. So even though you can't see that happening out here in the water, there are dolphins and so forth to see when you go to Tybee Island, and it is very interesting to learn about the right whale, and that is our state marine mammal, by the way. So on the 7th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 7 dolphins swimming, and the rest. On the 8th day, they go to Okefenokee Swamp. And there are all sorts of wildlife there, of course, and they learn about what the swamp is made of, and if you and the peat that if you stomp on one place. The bushes a few feet over are going to wiggle, and it's very cool to learn about all of that. And Jacob writes home to his parents about that. But most of all, they enjoy the frogs because they are the loudest thing in the swamp. So we have on the 8th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 8 frogs a-croaking, and the rest. I'm shortcutting. On the 9th day of Christmas, this is my favorite one in the whole book because it is about Habitat for Humanity. They go down to Americus, Georgia, and they go to the Global Village and Discovery Center and learn how Habitat helps families build their houses all over the world. And they see all different kinds of houses that Habitat builds. One of my favorites is the ones in India that are built with bars on the windows to keep the monkeys out. And Jacob said he wants to let the monkeys in. So it's kind of cute. But here they are operating the brick machine where you put mud and straw and whatnot in there and press it down real hard. And when you release it, you have bricks. So on the 9th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 9 bricks for stacking and the rest. On the 10th day of Christmas, they go to Callaway Gardens. And in the winter, the gardens are not so much what there is to see, but the butterfly house is wonderful. And it's there year-round heated, and the butterflies are flying around. And if you wear red, they land on you. They like red very much. And you also can learn about the life cycle of the butterfly and get to see some hatching sometimes if you're lucky. I was able to see one. It took about a half an hour for it to come out of its little chrysalis and unfold its wings, but it was really cool. So on the 10th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me 10 butterflies flitting and all the rest. On the 11th day of Christmas, they go to the Georgia Music Hall of Fame and learn about musicians that come from Georgia, groups like REM and the B-52s and people like James Brown and Alan Jackson. And they are now playing instruments that because you can sort of experiment with all the instruments they have there. And so there are 11 rockers rocking and the rest. And this one was really surprising, but in Georgia, we have in Dawsonville, there is a kangaroo conservation center where you can see over 300 kangaroos. It's the largest mob of kangaroos, that's what they're called, a mob, outside of Australia. So you have to call ahead for a tour because they're not open all the time for everybody to just drop in. But it's so interesting to see. And you can come right up. The kangaroos come up to the fence, and there are wallabies and all other sorts of cool animals. But that climate is very much like Australia's in Dawsonville. So we have 12, on the 12th day of Christmas, my cousin gave to me, and here's the whole list, 12 kangas bouncing, 11 rockers rocking, 10 butterflies flitting, 9 bricks for stacking, 8 frogs a-croaking, 7 dolphins swimming, 6 puppets playing, 5 Olympic rings, 4 cooing doves, 3 horsemen, 2 pans of gold, and a thrasher in a live oak tree. And then we can see them parading. Everybody's in there. I counted. Elizabeth managed to put all of the animals and whatnot in there so that everyone is represented. It's really quite a feat to get them all on one page. And then we have other cool facts and stuff about Georgia. Famous people that came from here. Julia Roberts is from here, and authors and sports people and so forth. So all of this happens in Georgia. And if you come to Georgia or you have someone visit Georgia from someplace else, you can show them all the cool things that are in Georgia. Thank you, and Merry Peachy Christmas.
Hi, it's Garrett Range with the City of Monroe Fire Department. I'm the fire marshal here, and I want to go over a couple of quick safety tips for you for the upcoming holiday concerning kitchen fires and cooking in the kitchen. First thing we're going to go over is what to do if you're kind of just walk away from, you got something cooking on the stove and you walk away from it, and you come back in and find it flamed up and smoking. Like the correct way to handle it, okay? Okay, so in the event that you come into your kitchen and you do find that you have a fire in a pot like that, the easiest and simplest thing to do and the most effective is just to put a lid on it, like this. Without oxygen, you can have no more fire. So therefore you're just kind of smothering it out there. But what you don't want to do is come in there and throw salt on it or anything like that. Just try to put a lid on it, turn it off, and call us and we'll come out and take care of it. So now I want to go over the dangers of frying turkeys. I know everybody loves a good fried turkey, I do too, but it's very important to make sure that you have let that turkey kind of get to room temperature. Don't put it in the fryer ice cold or ice, because of all that water and moisture is going to cause it to flame up. So I'm going to give you an example of that, okay? It's also important to note, this is also an example of why not to put water. I mean, most people, their gut instinct is to put water on a fire because that's what normally water puts out the majority of fires we find in the household. But this is just a different circumstance. So again, I just want to show you an example of what happens when water reacts with grease like this. Most people will use just about a cup of water. What they do is they'll take a cup, like, you know, from a bottle or a cup in their house, and they'll toss it on there trying to extinguish it. So you can see that is very ineffective. At that point, you may end up having a residential house fire, or at the very least, a kitchen fire. So again, try to remember to put a lid on it, turn off the heat, and then call the fire department. If you have any further questions, you can always reach out to me. Again, my name is Garrett Range. I'm the Fire Marshal of the City of Monroe Fire Department.
You're watching Walton Entertainment.
Bah humbug. Dear Santa Claus, my brother Arthur says there is no Santa Claus, and I am wasting my time writing to you, but he is wrong lots of times, and I know you are really and truly you. I would like you to bring me some ice skates and a new teddy bear, 'cause my old bear Harold has a worn out belly, and anything else you think a good little girl would like. Love, Margie. Arthur says that Santa Claus is a big fat humbug. Arthur says he can prove it, and I have to help him, and it's a secret, and if I tell anybody, he will put worms in my bed. Arthur says he is collecting all the stuff we will need to carry out his big plan, and we must hide everything until the time is right. I hung up our stockings and put some cookies and milk on the table, 'cause it is Christmas Eve, and I know Santa Claus will come, and he will be hungry when he gets here. Arthur says it's all dumb, but Arthur is wrong lots of times. Arthur says that after Mom and Daddy go to bed, it will be time to put his plan into action. Arthur says I better stay awake or he will put ice cubes in my pajamas. Arthur says I must tiptoe quiet as a mouse, and if I make any noise, he will flush Harold down the toilet. Arthur says he is making a grand trap to catch a big fat humbug Santa Claus. Arthur put a pail of cold water in the fireplace and a can of pennies by the door. Arthur tied wind chimes to the Christmas tree and spread balloons all over the floor. Arthur is tying string around everything and hanging bells on it. Arthur says the trap is ready and now we have to wait. Arthur says if I fall asleep, he will put bubble gum in my hair. Looks like Arthur fell asleep. Oh, Arthur's sleeping through everything. Santa has come with his bag. He has placed things under the tree, and he's sharing milk with me. He's headed back up the chimney after leaving all the gifts. Oh, now he's gone, and Arthur is still sleeping. Arthur says maybe he was wrong about Santa Claus, but if I tell anybody, he will mush peanut butter and jelly all over Harold's new fur coat. Dear Santa Claus, thank you for the nice ice skates and for the new fuzzy coat, for Harold and everything. I knew you were really and truly you, because Arthur is wrong lots of times. Love, Margie.
This is my daughter, Audrey, and her son, Aiden. My daughter was being abused in a relationship that I didn't know about, that she was being abused. But she called me at work, it was a Friday, and she said, he's threatening me, I gotta get out, he's gonna kill me. So she went to my persuasion to get a TPA. She got the restraining order, and being naive and not knowing anything about the legal system and domestic violence and all that, I didn't know that's a piece of paper, pretty much, and so I felt like she's safe now, okay? He can't bother her anymore. Well, that was on a Friday, so she got to live another week. Let me back up, I think. Anyway, it's around that time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, another week. So he started harassing her with phone calls, and the police told her, you know, just to record all this stuff, to keep all these things for your case, a better case. And it got to be more harassing, and she was becoming more afraid. So her and I went to my mother's house to stay because we were afraid that he was going to come around or something. And we were down there hiding out pretty much. And she did that for a week, and her job wanted her to come in, so she did. And they told her, be sure, well, the police told her, you know, we'll be there when you get off of work to make sure you're safe in your car. Well, they had changed her schedule that night and forgot to tell the police, so they were not there when she got off work, but her boss walked her to the car. She got in her car. On her way home, she decided to stop about half a mile away, stop at a gas station. And she went in a gas station, paid for her stuff, and went back out to her car, and she decided to look in the back of her car because he had done that before, hiding in the back of her car. So when she saw him in the back of her car, she ran back inside the gas station, and she said, call 911, he's out there, I've got a restraining order, he's not supposed to be there or anything. So I think several people started calling 911. Well, he got out of the car and he went into the gas station, shot her 13 times, right in front of everybody. After he killed my daughter, he barricaded himself inside his home, and a SWAT team came and they were surrounding his house, and I think it was 7 hours they were out there, and finally they decided they were going to go in, and because he would not come out, he would just demand his child. He wanted his son. He wanted to see his son again, and since that wasn't possible, he was calling relatives, threatening them, saying, you're next, I'm getting you next. It was a nightmare for our whole family. It was terrible. But after they decided to go into the house, once they knocked the door down, I guess, he shot himself and killed himself, like the coward that he is and was. I'm a firm believer everybody has to have a reason to get up in the morning, you know? And for me, that child that I had to raise, of course, I had to get up every morning. I had to go through the motions of caring for him and working and putting everything down as far low as I could, my emotions, until he would go to bed at night, and then of course I'd fall apart again and get up the next morning and do it all over again. But, you know, that kept me going. He kept me going, staying present in the moment today. That's what I had and do focus on, because if I can't think about tomorrow, that pain is too deep. I just can't. And I want to make my daughter proud. I want to make her son proud. I want to make my family proud. And I want to see her again. So I'm doing the best I can. I'm speaking out. That gives me hope and courage that I can make a difference, and so that nobody else will have to do that again.
Creative Artists can offer you a wide range of video production. Call the experts and discuss your project today, whether it's your special event or your company. Creative Artist, 770-267-7368. Creative Artist produces this program you're watching. Call Creative Artist today, 770-267-7368. Creative Artist, they'll put you in the spotlight.